All right. Hi, welcome to the November webinar. Thank you so much for tuning in. I'm Brent Edwards, BT's Assistant Director, and I'm just really excited to spend the next few minutes with you going over our brand new EL section on Beyond Textbooks. As with all of our webinars, I've got a few reminders for you. One is at the conclusion of this webinar, refresh your browser. That'll bring up a quiz at the top of the screen. If you pass that quiz, you'll earn 30 minutes of PD for your time today. And if you're watching this basically live or within 48 hours of it going live, then you're entered into a drawing for $100. We'd love to send out a few $100 checks, maybe one coming your way. Second, this and all of our webinars are stored in the archived webinars section on BT, so you or a colleague can always go back and watch this at a later time. And then third, I mentioned this already, we love giving away money. We'll actually give away 15 $100 checks to viewers of this webinar. So cross your fingers, hope that's you. Why are we doing this? It's really pretty simple. We have completely redesigned the EL section on our webpage. Our whole website is brand new, but then within that, we restructured EL. Should be fewer clicks to access the things you need. We also did this in response to the state of Arizona redoing their EL standards. So our site is both cleaner and less clicky to access your information, and it's fully aligned with the current Arizona EL standards. Secondly, I want to make sure you have some tools that you can use, whether you are a site EL specialist or maybe a district EL coordinator, or if you're a classroom teacher with an EL student in your class. I want to give you some tools and I want to give you some strategies that you can use. So our agenda for today, pretty short and sweet. Make sure you know how to navigate our new EL section. Then we'll talk about some tools that might be used site-wide. Then we'll talk about some tools that may be used across a grade level. And then we'll get down to the level of specific standards and tools and resources for a given standard, all of which supporting you in EL instruction. Sound good? All right. So in just a moment, I'm going to jump in and show this to you on a live drive. This is just a static image, but I want to point out that our EL section is housed within the specialists container. So right here on the BT homepage, you'll scroll down just a little bit, find that specialists container, click into that. That'll bring up the English learners or EL section. You see it highlighted there on the screen. So with that in mind, let's pause. I'm going to jump onto a live drive and we will show this live and in person. All right, I'm here on the BT homepage. You should recognize this. As I mentioned, I'm going to scroll down just a little bit and jump into the specialists container. That brings up classes like music, PE, the arts. But as I scroll down just a little bit more, you see the English learners container right here. You can jump into any of these subsections, or you can click the title to come to the main page. That's what I'm going to do. And I'm going to briefly walk through the top 3 items here on this page. The first is the K through 12 English language proficiency standards. Kinder, first, and then you start to see they're grouped by grade band. Second and third share a document, fourth and fifth share a document, and so on. If you click into any of these, it will download the PDF onto your desktop or your downloads. And this is every English language proficiency standard, top to bottom, for your selected grade level. That's the big picture view. If that's useful to you, by all means, download these documents. I'm going to use the breadcrumb trail right here to back up one step, come back out to the EL page. Let's take a look at what's available for you in the English Learner forms. When I click in there, you've got a variety of forms. The top left box here are Arizona-specific forms. Some of them are designed to be used as is. Some are designed to be modified or adapted to meet your needs. So I know there's a lot of BT partners in Arizona, but also fully recognize we've got people tuning in from across the country. Your state may have different rules or requirements or forms for English learners. I really encourage you to get your state's information, but it may be that you could take these modifiable forms and have them meet your needs. So please feel free to explore that. You see some other forms up here that may be used by either the district or the site EL coordinator. They're available for anyone. Help yourself if they're useful. Last thing I'm going to show you on this page are the English Learner resources, and I really want everyone to take a look at this. There's a variety of resources and materials here. What I'll highlight is the section here in the middle, the language development strategies. Sometimes I think I'm guilty of thinking that EL or English learning really only happens in the ELA classes, and of course it doesn't. EL also happens in math and science and social studies and other classes. And so there are 3 documents right here, you see them highlighted, that give some real specific language development strategies in a specific content area. So my background, I was primarily a math teacher. I used this mathematics document to support any English learners in my math class. Found it very helpful and very useful. So I encourage you to explore and check that out. What I'd like to do now is jump to click the BT logo to jump back to the home page, and I'm going to navigate to a few different pages that I've pulled up. One, this is the 7th grade reading standard of RL04, and you'll see what I'm about to show you. You'll see it in every reading or writing standard starting in K going through high school, and that is this. In the curriculum documents section here, where we're used to seeing unwrapped documents, maybe formatives, we've added a section right here that says EL connection, EL.7 RL04. And what this is, it's the English learner standards that specifically relate to RL04. So instead of the giant list that may or may not apply to this specific standard, what you find now is the list that targets and focuses specifically on this standard. So if you're a teacher teaching RL04 and you've got some English learners in your class, in addition to pulling up the unwrapped document and the teacher resources, I really encourage you to pull up this EL connection document and see how you can support your learners while teaching this standard. I'll jump to another standard, and here you see the same thing. This is a 5th grade writing standard. Unwrapped document, some formatives. This one has a rubric to help students assess their writing, and then over here you see the same EL connection document. What you might find next as you navigate, so I just navigated to 3rd grade language standard 1, and you're going to see some commonalities. Here's that same EL connection document to help you teach this standard to any English learners. But also you're going to start seeing more and more on specific standards, things like this, comparative adjectives, and then you see here in parentheses for EL. This is a resource shared that was specifically designed or adapted for English learners. So you have access to every resource on BT, of course, but you're going to start seeing more and more that specifically target the English learners, and we tag all of those with this parentheses for EL notation. If you come across those and they align with what's going on in your classroom, really encourage you to use them. And you're going to find those maybe primarily in the reading standards and the writing standards. I think that's perhaps where most EL instruction happens, but not exclusively. I've jumped here to an Algebra 1 standard, and I just want to point out that a teacher has created an assessment with Spanish support. So maybe there's a Spanish-speaking student taking algebra and they're struggling not so much with the content but with the language barrier. Here's a formative assessment with Spanish support. You're welcome to use it. Here's another example of an algebra resource that has been adapted for English learners, and you see that all of these have that parentheses for EL notation. So if you see that, jump in, grab it. It may be useful for your classroom. And of course, like every other resource on BT, it comes in the editable versions or the Google Docs version, so you could adapt it further to meet whatever your classroom needs are. Now, full disclosure, we know that not every standard has some EL resources on it. I jumped back here to 7th grade RL04, and I'm not seeing any resources that are tagged with that for EL. So one, if you have something that you've created or adapted or found or modified, we really encourage you to share that onto BT. And you'll do that just by clicking the Add New Resource button here at the bottom of the screen. It's the same process that you've done to share other resources in the past. But if you stay tuned, in just a second I'll tell you, we've got an incentive going on that maybe will will make it even more worth your while to share a good EL resource. That's it for our live drive. Let me jump back to our presentation. All right, welcome back from the live drive. Now, full disclosure, there are not a million EL resources on our site yet. So one, I encourage you, if you have a resource that you created or found or adapted or modified to meet the needs of an English learner in your classroom, I really encourage you to upload that. You'll put that in the standard where it best fits and just click that Add New Resource button at the bottom left. That'll bring up the standard web editor page where you can upload any resource. But this is new. For the next 2 weeks, between today and December 3rd, 2021, so if you're watching this after the fact, sorry, but between now and December 3rd, 2021, any resource that you upload that's specifically designed or targeted for English learners, we've got an incentive going on right now, giving away up to $1,000. Any EL resource that you submit will actually get you 2 entries into that drawing. So make 5 EL submissions, that's 10 entries into the drawing. The only thing we ask is be super clear in your title and your description that this is EL specific. We don't want to miss it, so be clear as you describe your resource and what it is, then we'll make sure it gets tagged for EL and gets you those 2 drawings. All right? Giving away money is what we do. We want to put money in teachers' pockets. So, final thoughts. I just want to say thank you so much for tuning in today. We've enjoyed our time together. In just a second here, click refresh on that browser. That'll pop up the quiz. That'll earn you the PD and earn you the chance for those $100 drawings. Thanks so much, and we will see you on our next webinar.